Men who experience premature ejaculation are very often nice guys. They have nice guy syndrome as well, which basically means that they're people pleasers. They're unable to authentically be themselves, and this creates a very stressful dynamic to sex and an excessive amount of worrying about your self-image and if you're pleasing your partner or not. And this pattern ingrains a stress-based response to sexuality. But fortunately, when you understand this and learn how to step out of this pattern, it can change your sex life and your enjoyment of life in general dramatically. I'm Jonathan White. I'm here to help you master your sexual energy so you can manifest your ideal life. If you want to learn more about sexual and self-mastery, make sure you subscribe to my channel. Make sure you get my free ejaculation control course through the link in the video description below. So nice guys are basically people pleasers. If you're not familiar with nice guy syndrome basically means that you use people pleasing, you use the approach of trying to be nice to everyone as a way to get the things that you want. And a lot of men have been kind of lashing out at me for using this term, but it's important to understand that being genuinely kind, having kindness, I believe is a virtue, but that's different than being what I'm saying here as a nice guy. And basically with nice guys, somewhere in their childhood, they learned to appeal to others as a way to get the things that they want. It usually stems from some difficult experience with a parent. Maybe the parent got mad at you and yelled at you and you felt like, uh-oh, if I don't please my parent, they're gonna stop feeding me, I'm not going to survive. And so you learn to please those who are around you in your perception just to survive. But then that pattern becomes your default throughout your life and you're still carrying it throughout your entire life. So in every situation, you choose to appeal to others, make sure that they like you, but this pattern actually alienates you. You're never being real, you're not being authentic, and people usually detect this. They're just like, oh, this guy's just too nice. You just feel neutral to people and they don't really trust you. And this actually prevents you, like trying to use niceness and very much in combination with passive aggressive manipulation techniques to try to get what you want in silent contracts. Like, well, if I'm nice to her, then she must give me something in return. Using these strategies, we could say, but they're usually just happening subconsciously. You usually have no idea that you are doing this. It actually prevents you from ever having your needs met. And this develops resentment for a lot of nice guys. They usually end up in sexless relationships. They usually end up in toxic relationship dynamics. And the most common thing is that they develop resentment towards their partner, often resentment towards women in general. And nice guys are often typically embarrassed to be themselves. And I'm saying this from experience. I was a nice guy. I was the poster image of the nice guy for a large portion of my life. And once I became aware of this, I was like, holy shit, no wonder. This has been sabotaging my whole life. And my life changed dramatically once I started implementing this. I was always worried about like, what am I saying? Like, how do I appear to others? Especially during sex. It's like, well, I don't want to be too like sexually assertive. I better not tell her what my true sexual desires are. So you're constantly in this game of like trying to say like just the right things. And it's all based on what you think they perceive from you. And the biggest underlying fear here is embarrassment. I was afraid to be embarrassed. I was afraid like if I expressed my true sexual desires, said what I really meant, that I would be embarrassed or that they would get mad and upset with me. But in reality, me not expressing my true desires, expressing what was truly deep down within me, it kept the dynamic of the relationship very stale, very neutral, and just kind of blah, because I wasn't allowing my inner sex god, so to speak, my primal masculine expression. I wasn't allowing it to come out. It was there, but it was stuffed down and protected with this wall of I'm just a nice person. Yeah, loving kindness. You know, it was fake. It was completely fake. It was a suppression. So when you're afraid to express your true sexual desire, you're constantly worrying about what your partner's thinking about you, and you subconsciously have this resentment towards women, towards your partner. All these things come together to create a situation of basically not lasting very long during sex. And there's many factors to this, but number one, the most basic thing is that ejaculation is a function of the sympathetic fight or flight nervous system. And so when you're in a stressed state, you're going to be much closer to that point of ejaculating. And having all this stress around, what does my partner think about me? What should I say? And especially like, am I going to ejaculate too quickly? Am I going to be able to satisfy my partner? So you're 100% centered on pleasing them, basically making sure that they accept you rather than focusing on, well, let's just like experience some pleasure together. I just want to feel good, baby. That is a recipe for premature ejaculation because you're just in your head, you're worrying about pleasing the person, and this disconnects you completely from what's arising, puts you in fight or flight, overactive nervous system state and you ejaculate quickly. And on top of this, when there's this unconscious resentment towards your partner, creating a greater disconnect. Plus, when you're a nice guy, you're often holding on to shame from the past. Like I used to hold on to all these like maybe embarrassing sexual experiences I had where I ejaculated quickly or was unable to please my partner. I would replay those images in my head during sex, and it creates these feelings of shame, these feelings of unworthiness. And I think what happens is you ejaculate quickly almost to avoid intimacy. You ejaculate quickly to avoid a prolonged sexual act. So it's like sabotaging yourself. So basically, embarrassment and shame around sexuality, fear of displeasing your partner creates a stress-based response to sex, and you ejaculate quickly. And this becomes ingrained because every time you go to have sex, it's performance anxiety, it's fear, it's anxiety about if you're going to ejaculate quickly, and that's what you focus on. And that's what happens. And it's an inability to be in your primal true expression, truly expressing your desires, being able to lead your partner, create that primal desire, that primal connection, deep polarity. And this creates a pretty miserable dynamic of never having sexual satisfaction, never having like deep, fulfilling sex. And this leads a lot of nice guys to be addicts, to seek their fix from drugs, porn, video games, and often to avoid sex entirely. Like again, getting it through porn and masturbation. And I say this having been someone who had this dynamic myself. 11 years ago, I was the poster child of this stuff. Okay, so I'm saying this from experience. So how do we overcome it? The good news is that you can change this pattern. You just have to be aware of it and see how it's sabotaging you. Because if you have this reaction of, well, I shouldn't have to be an asshole to attract women, that's not exactly it. The thing is that the asshole is not concerned about pleasing others. He's acting boldly and just expressing how he feels. In that regard, that's a beneficial approach to have, but it's not really about being an asshole. It's about unlocking your masculinity. It's about being able to connect with your primal masculine nature, to freely express yourself, being able to spontaneously express yourself, say exactly what's on your mind, communicate exactly how you're feeling, and just basically just being real. And not being afraid of like how people are going to react to it. Because when you're afraid, you don't express, you hold it back, and then it stays within you, it cooks you. It never gets expressed, your desires never get met because you never actually speak what they are. And when you start to freely express yourself, free masculine expression, it means that you don't have to hold on to things anymore and worry about pleasing others or not pleasing others. You simply put it out there, how you're feeling, what you think about the situation, what your desires are, your needs, whatever. And if the person doesn't like it, it's probably not a good fit. But more likely what happens is that you actually start developing deeper intimacy and more potential for fulfillment, because clearly stating your desires and needs and actually just being able to be yourself, it shows the person who you truly are. And instead of just being like kind of neutral, showing just what you think people should see of you, they only see a small percentage of you and it's not even real. You take out the clouds that were obscuring the sun, so to speak, and your light can shine. And not everyone's gonna like that. You have to be okay with that. But the people who do will love it. When you're with a partner and you're freely expressing your deep sexual desires, the things that turn you on, the things you want to do to them, they'll probably love it. And if they don't, it means it wasn't a good fit. Why would you want to be in a relationship with someone who doesn't want to do the things you want to do? You know what I mean? Now you've filtered that out, and it means you can date someone who actually is on the same page as you. And when I say primal expression, authentic expression, it doesn't mean you're always like hyper masculine, tough and fucking cool and always the seductive master. That's not always going to be it. It means being real with the people you're with wherever you're at. For example, recently this week, I had some intimacy time scheduled with my wife. We often schedule time together because we have busy schedules. And of course, during our intimacy time, there's often sex. And I was kind of expecting that, but I woke up that day feeling very just tired, very exhausted, just very not myself. And I didn't have like a strong sex drive that day. And I got very self-conscious about this. It was like this self-talk, like, well, I should be ready to go 24/7. I'm Jonathan White, master of sexual kung fu. This whole like self-judgment. But what I did was I told her openly, like, hey, like I'm feeling a little bit self-conscious today because I'm feeling exhausted. I feel fucked up today. And I feel like I should be at this 100% like I usually am, but I'm just not. And I just expressed like, this is how I feel. This is where I'm at. And you know what? It actually led to a deepened intimacy between us. She understood because, obviously not everyone's going to be 100% all the time. And I was simply being real. And in the past, I may have just, pretended everything's fine, but she's always going to know something's off. Women can feel it. They're intuitive. So basically, when you're able to just be real, express where you're at, not try to be someone that you're not, and just say the things that you feel. Another example I'll share is that I used to feel very self-conscious about dirty talking during sex. And like, this is one of the best parts of like sex and creating desires. Like you're telling your partner, like, oh baby, I wanna rip your clothes off and lay you down by the fire and make love to you. And I used to be really embarrassed to do that because I thought like, oh, my partner will think that I'm silly or it'll create embarrassment for me. That's what I thought. But you know what? Once I started doing it, it created a lot of polarity in my relationship. It created a lot of desire and attraction, and it deepened our sexual relationship. So it's like when you hold yourself back because you're afraid of pain, what you're really doing is digging yourself deeper into this prison of of isolation, of loneliness, and an inability to connect with others. And the more you stop giving a fuck what other people think, the more you stop caring about if your partner's gonna judge you or be self-conscious about you. If they're doing that, like, fuck them. You probably shouldn't be with them anyway. Do you want to be with someone who would judge you for like being who you are? You know what I mean? So it's important to learn to feel safe with who you are. And I'm gonna share some practical things here. Start finding outlets of authentic expression, ways that allow you to truly be who you are. And that may look like, it may look like artistic expressions. Maybe it's playing music, maybe it's singing, writing poetry, something like that. Maybe it's martial arts, it's punching things, it's sparring with people. And here's something else is I encourage you to practice revealing yourself, your true feelings, the true you. Practice revealing this to the people you're closest to. This is something that was really important for me. I found that in a lot of my friendships and relationships, I was still kind of like holding things back. And once I practiced just like being more vulnerable, just sharing the real me, it deepened my relationships. It deepened my friendships because again, you're showing who you truly are. And that's what people want. Don't you want the people around you? Don't you want to know who they are, who the real version of that person is? That's what people want from you. So practice it. I know it's scary at first, but once you start doing this, you'll see that it doesn't lead to people just abandoning you and you being all alone. It leads to deeper trust. It leads to deeper bonding and deeper intimacy. And being able to just be real with your partner, for example, if you have premature ejaculation, you say, hey, I'm feeling self-conscious. I'm worried that I'm going to ejaculate quickly and that it'll be embarrassing for me. Like, tell your partner that. You can try that. And most often, if they, truly care about you and truly feel a connection with you, they'll probably tell you, it doesn't matter. I don't care. And especially if you're doing, sexual kung fu, working to get better at it, working to build your stamina, they'll be all on board for it. And then there's no longer that pressure of like, where it's just an unspoken thing and you're afraid of it without ever communicating about it. And then it happens and you feel like shit and you have shame around it and it just repeats itself. You've expressed it. And again, it always leads to a deeper connection, to be real. I hope you enjoyed this video. And I have to say that overcoming nice guy syndrome is a process. It's not gonna happen overnight, but it's important you start to look at your life and notice how are you people pleasing and practice being spontaneous and authentically yourself. Let me know in the comments below if you'd like to see more videos about overcoming nice guy syndrome. Thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe to my channel and have a great day.